Welcome to No Tourists Allowed, a podcast where two recognized travel industry executives with a combined 69 years on the inside of travel and technology give up their secrets to the thing everyone wants to do. Travel better, pay less, and see more of the world. Enjoy today's episode.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Putman.
And I'm James Farrar, and welcome to our holiday extravaganza. Mike, Macy's has the Thanksgiving Day parade, and we've got this special broadcast sort of kicking off the holiday travel season.
All right. Well, I didn't think of it that way, but that's a nice way of putting it. You
have your costume on?
No, I have my pajamas on, actually. I've been in bed with COVID for the last 5 days. So, Yes, I am still in my pajamas, but dutifully here behind the mic to share what I hope are some great travel tips for our eager audience out there.
Absolutely. And we should start with, first of all, Mike, sorry you're not feeling well. Everybody wishes you a speedy recovery. But I've been hearing more of that lately, and maybe some of you guys are too, in terms of, we've had a couple of people at work contract COVID again. We're starting to all travel more, all get together at large events again. It's getting to be cold weather in the Northeast where I am. And so people are congregating inside again. And, inevitably we're spreading not just COVID, but colds and flus of other kinds as well. And, you would think we wouldn't talk a lot about this on travel, but we're on a travel podcast, but we're very real here, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a good opportunity to remind everybody to do what you do to protect yourself. For some of us, that may be taking a vaccine, the new bivalent vaccine that is intended to help against the later variations like Omicron, or just washing your hands a lot, wearing a mask when you're in a crowd, practicing social distancing. I would say let's not forget what we learned in the last couple of years. And it's time to be prudent still,
No, definitely with the colder weather. And, for us in the travel industry, the last couple of months have been our conference season. And James, I know you've been to your share of conferences and shook your share of hands and given hugs. And that's what got me this past week at the Focusrite conference in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was around a lot of people, and I have been around a lot of people previously too, and I've had all the vaccines and boosters and so forth, but still try to be cognizant of where I am and the circumstances. And I even got a flu shot this year, which I really don't like. I don't typically get flu shots, but I was being a little extra careful this year. This new variant creeped up and jumped all over me. This new variant, by the way, is called the ass-kicking variant. And that's what jumped all over me, and it put me in bed for 5 days.
The AC variant or AK variant for short. I use hand sanitizer so much. I have been at a lot of these events like you, and I use hand sanitizer so much that I'm convinced I've burned a couple of layers of skin off my hands, and I could commit crimes now and not leave fingerprints. So let's do a travel wrap up. The last couple of months, where have we been, Mike? Well, certainly we were together in Belfast, but I was in Finland, and then from Finland boarded a ship, brand new, huge, mega cruise liner, the Carnival Celebration, incredible ship, by the way. But I boarded it under construction from the shipyard, and rode it over to Southampton, England, where she was debuted to the trade press and the world. And then she did her inaugural cruise to Miami, and she'll be running out of Miami on week-long itineraries to the Caribbean. And she is incredible. Nothing like what you might think of in the old Carnival. Incredible food, beautiful, upscale looking ship, amazing technology. So check that out. Then I was in London for a couple of days at World Travel Market, which, if you're going to get the COVID, that's probably the place to do it.
Because that is a hotbed of COVID.
Yeah, there were 50,000 people in the conference center in London, and nobody wearing a mask. I mean, like not one person, and we were on top of each other. So I was really surprised I didn't come away with COVID from that. But an incredible event, destination boards, tourism boards, and suppliers, cruise lines, vacation companies, airlines from all over the world in just these vast halls and incredibly elaborate stands and booths. And so we really got to see what's going on in the world with travel. And that was fascinating. And took the opportunity to pretend to be Mike Pumpman one night. And I went to a Michelin-starred restaurant, this one, an famous Indian restaurant in London with a Michelin star, and had a spectacular meal. And we toasted you, Mike, at that meal.
All right. Well, I wish I would have been there for that piece of it. Good to hear. Yeah. My travels have not been quite so frequent as yours, James. I know you've been gone most of the time. But we did a quick trip to Miami. And I did a golfing trip with some friends and over a weekend. And this trip to Arizona, I think that's been about it. I think there was one more.
That trip to Arizona, you were at a famous conference called Focusrite, which is really about emerging technologies and new startup companies in the travel industry, right?
Yeah, it is. It's where all the senior level travel technology people get together. It's kind of the once a year big deal. And it was a great conference.
What resort were you at in Arizona?
I was at the JW Marriott in Desert Ridge, which is a nice but remote venue with limited dining options. And, anyhow, I think I would have done it in a different place or would have had some better opportunities. The same event was at the Diplomat last year. Actually, you went last year, James, I remember. And, there were limited dining options. And typically when you go to these conferences, you don't rent a car necessarily. You just, you get there, you get an Uber, you get a taxi, you go to the resort. You're working the conference for 2 or 3 days. You get an Uber back to the airport, you go home. But when you're in these remote, big resorts, which it's not reasonable that you can walk anywhere from this resort, you're kind of stuck there unless you want to grab an Uber for dinner or something. So, and
in these days when hotels and resorts have closed some of their dining venues still or limited their services, that can be really tough. That's happened to us a few times, Mike.
Yeah, and that was the case here. I did want to tell you though, one thing that we've talked about on previous podcasts was the resort fee that the hotel charged. Now, as our listeners know, I'm a big Marriott fan, and I really do like the brand, and JW's Marriotts are one of their better ones. But this particular property had a $45 per day resort fee, which is ridiculous, number one. And when you check in, they kind of sheepishly go over, we're going to be charging you a $45 fee per day. And then they have these cards, and I brought you one back, James. You'll love this. It's a little like a double-sided business card or a fold-over business card, and it justifies why they're charging you $45 a day, which to me is just ridiculous. I mean, it's things that would normally be at no charge for any resort.
Yeah, sometimes they say like a bottle of water in the room.
Free Wi-Fi.
Right, free Wi-Fi, a beach chair if you want to go to the beach, a lounge chair if you want to go to the pool. really? If I don't pay the fee, there won't be a lounge chair?
Or I can't go to the gym.
Right.
So this is $45, and I mean it's not $10 like the Vegas hotel started at like $10 a few years back. This is getting into meaningful money, and for a resort like this, which caters to conventions, it's just another little charge that the corporation's going to pick up, or the company's going to pick up. But it's just to me an unjust way of charging people money and avoiding paying travel agents commissions on those additional funds that they're receiving.
Yeah, it's just additional revenue for the hotel. It's a money grab. And the Department of Transportation and certain congressmen have announced investigations into these fees in the last year or two because they are getting out of hand. And it appears to be a sort of, let's say it's not a transparent way to advertise the cost of a hotel, because they don't include these fees. They add them later. Some people in the government have charged the disclosures are not properly done, and people don't know that they're being obligated to these fees. And when you think of a hotel room that might cost $250 a night, that's another 20%, Mike, the fee that you got. And my fee was even higher at the hotel I stayed at in South Beach. It was even more than that on a daily basis. And again, they made some weak sort of attempt to justify the fee with this meaningless list of amenities that you would expect from a good hotel anyway. So I think this practice is not long for life. I think there's going to be either some regulation or some pressure from the government to actually change it. But it's something for our traveler listeners to be aware of. Sometimes when you commit to a hotel, you want to make sure you're reading the fine print there and you know everything you're going to be charged.
Well, I'll tell you another example, James. And actually, President Biden spoke about this while you were on vacation in Europe. Was that there was a luncheon he hosted, and he really had some. This was a strong piece of his agenda for this luncheon, and it was talking about these hidden service fees. And the other way this impacts families is, let's say you were a single mother and you wanted to take your child on a flight, okay, and you went on a particular airlines, and Frontier's not the only one, but they're pretty tough on this. You could book, let's say you had a 10-year-old child, right? And you want to fly somewhere. You book your tickets, and the price is $99 each way or whatever. And then you have to pay an additional fee if you want to sit by your child. Let's say it's a 10-year-old child could probably sit by themselves, but let's say it's a 4-year-old child, right? There's no provision that allows you to get a seat beside your child unless you pay for it. So in those situations, that's not a service fee. I think most people would consider that a required fee, which has a different set of rules that govern that where that
should be disclosed.
The disclosure should be done earlier in the funnel, or prior to the customer making a booking. So, so those are some things.
We have laws that actually say that when we price airline tickets or rental cars, that we have to include all of the necessary fees, all of the required fees have to be included in that total price and disclosed right up front. So when people are doing a search, it's evident to them what the real cost is. So these things need to be addressed.
The real lever there is an airline could justifiably say, well, it is not a requirement that you sit by your 3-year-old kid. That's not real world. Like, no one's going to go on a flight and not sit by and sit 10 rows from their 3-year-old kid. That just doesn't make sense. And they can say, oh, well, you can get somebody to switch with you. Well, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but it's not the consumer's responsibility to ask someone to switch seats just so that they can sit by their child. So therefore, it is, in my opinion, it is a required cost, which should or has to be disclosed up front. So
absolutely agree. And speaking of the real world and our big holiday extravaganza, complete with costumes and reindeer and everything, is let's talk about what's going on out there, because it's kind of a good news, bad news situation, right? The good news is that despite inflation, which has been significant in the last year or two, including a raise in airline ticket prices, and I know you and I always sort of debate these numbers, but I took a look. We have an average 20% increase in the cost of flights around Thanksgiving versus last year. And last year, there was an increase also. So this is on top of last year's increase. And a 40% increase in the airfares around the December holidays. So despite inflation in all categories of our lives, and even talk of recession, some people talk about a coming recession, it does not appear to be deterring travelers from traveling. Not this holiday season and not beyond the holiday season into next year, and certainly not this fall that the last couple of months. We're seeing record numbers. The Thanksgiving weekend will be essentially the same as 2019, pre-pandemic. And in fact, there are some analysts who think it's going to be even bigger. But we're just seeing, if you've been out there at all, like Mike and I have been out there traveling, planes are full, airports are full, people are traveling. We're not seeing any indication of an effect from this economy. Don't you think, Mike?
Yeah. Yes. I would say that my belief would be that we would be well ahead of 2019 pricing, much higher than what it was in 2019. The total revenue might be the same or similar, but the price per flown seat mile is going to be way up there. I look to change my flight coming back from Phoenix back to Greenville. It was going to be $2,100 for a coach ticket one way. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? I mean, during the summer, I flew to Scotland and back in business class for $2,100. That's just insane. But these prices, I mean, look, the planes are full. So the airlines have figured out that they can constrict capacity, and they can blame it on lack of staff, which I'm sure there's some truth to that. But they can constrict capacity. And the demand is there. People are traveling. There's no doubt about it. Same with hotels. A lot of the hotels are in London, as an example. I was on a call this morning with another major OTA, and they were telling us that there's a lot of hotels in London that are just making floors dark, what they call it. And so they're taking 2 floors out of their inventory, and they're keeping their ADRs up, or average daily rates up higher, and servicing less people, and still making the same revenue. So,
yeah, that's amazing. I've always said that when the economy turns, people may give up their kitchen renovation, but they're not going to give up their vacation or their holiday.
Absolutely.
And I think we see it over and over again. Now, there may be some change in spending. Some people will decide to maybe spend less or reduce the quality of their accommodations, or maybe even the length of their stay, to sort of tighten their budget a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see that, but we are not seeing any cancellations or postponements at all that we can tie to economic conditions.
But one of the things that was discussed discreetly amongst some of us at the conference was the Q1 occupancy rates are surprisingly very low. So there's been some predictions that ADRs are going to drop significantly in Q1 for Q1 travel. And again, that's the room rates, let's call it that. There wasn't really a real cause and effect, but some of the larger distributors of hotel rooms had come to this conclusion, because they see these forecasts well in advance, that there's going to be some softening, at least in the hotel side, in Q1. So hopefully we'll see some of these prices get back to normalized pricing at the beginning of the year.
ASTA did a survey just to support what we're saying here. They did a consumer survey just a couple of weeks ago, and they found that 77% of Americans would rather take a vacation than buy a computer, a television, a car, a gaming console, and so on. Now, that, sort of tells you right there, but I'll go on to say that 75% intend to spend more in 2023 on travel than they did before the pandemic. And 40% of respondents said that nothing is going to stop them from taking a vacation.
I fit into all those categories. I mean, I agree with all of that. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's what's happening. And you might consider that, a little good news, bad news, right? People are out there traveling, and we all want to do that. But at the same time, it could be creating some friction for us, right? In certainly in prices, occupancy. And the other thing we haven't talked about so much is crowds, because earlier in the year, we had those Armageddon weekends, right? In the spring and in June. And people have asked me what's happening now with that. And one thing I can tell you is that the number of complaints and the number of cancellations and delays has dropped to about a third of what it was at that time. So the airline industry has recovered on the operational side quite a bit. Not fully, and there are still issues out there, but there are more people back in jobs. There are more planes back in the sky, and there was a lot of regulatory pressure from the government. There were threats of fines. Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders and a couple of other activist senators jumped in there and threatened really draconian measures against the airlines if they didn't get their act together. The Department of Transportation put up a website that compared the customer service policies of major airlines. So really put them, shined a light on them and put them in competition with each other. And I think that has contributed also. So I don't expect, this is my personal view, but based on all the data that I have, I don't expect the kind of Armageddon weekends and days that we had earlier in the year. But I would caution you that we do know what the peak days are around the holidays. And we're already at Thanksgiving, so you're probably already traveling. I will tell you, if you're planning on returning on Sunday, that is the absolute highest traffic day around Thanksgiving, is the Sunday following Thanksgiving. So, get to the airport early, travel light, and have the right expectation for that day. In December, I think we face a little bit of a special situation this year, because December 23rd is typically the busiest day around the Christmas holidays. And this year that falls on a Friday. So I think that's a double whammy for people who are traveling that Friday. Fridays typically tend to be one of the worst days for air traffic control and for delays and cancellations. If you do have to travel on any of these days, I would suggest to you that you travel early in the week and early in the day. Those two strategies will help you avoid the peak times.
Yes, absolutely. The weekends are really hectic over the holidays because everybody's trying to get those last couple of days with their friends and family in, or last couple of days of holiday. And so early in the week is good. And especially if you're coming from or going to a part of the world that's going to have potential weather, the Northeast as an example, you want to start your travels as early as possible so you can buffer in as much time as you can to get a later flight should your flight be canceled, or especially flights that require connections. It just adds to the complexity of traveling. So that's some good points there, James. Speaking of delays, I will tell you one tip here for our listeners is if you have TSA PreCheck, right, which is part of the global entry package, it is really, really important to renew those. I've had it for years, and over the period of COVID, they kind of waived the fees or waived the application process. I can't remember exactly. And so I became, I kind of took it out of my mind. Mine ended up expiring even after they extended it a year or 2 years. It expired on my birthday, which was in October. And I did not either get the email or I didn't pay attention to the email, whatever the notification. And I went back to renew it, and there are no renewable appointments for the next 12 months. So that means I've got to get in line with the commenters and, take my socks off, take my shoes off, walk through the screening area with just your socks on, take your electronics out, all that kind of stuff, and chew up a lot of time. So just one tip for you guys: when your renewal comes up, or if you don't know when your renewal is, log on to the Custom and Border Protection Trusted Traveler Program site. Find out when it is, because you do not want to miss this. It's a very small investment for anyone that travels, and it saves a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and you don't have to walk around where everybody's gross feet have been walking. I mean, tens of thousands of people's feet germs you've just come in contact with. Ew. So do yourself a favor.
Well, one of the reasons that we're getting so much traffic and so much demand in travel is that the U.S. dollar is continuing to stay, historically record strong against the euro everywhere in Europe and the pound in the UK. So we saw during the pandemic those European capitals that are typically at the top of the list of destinations like London and Paris and Rome, they disappeared during the pandemic, right? Nobody could go, and then no one wanted to go to these big cities during that time. We saw them come roaring back this year, back on the top of the list. And then starting in the summer and into the early fall, the dollar came to parity with the euro and the pound, like 1 for 1. And that hasn't happened in over 20 years.
Well, it didn't come to parity with the pound. It did with the euro, almost. And actually, and exceeded. Almost. But the pound's kind of at it's very advantageous for us. But it's at about today it's at about $1.20. Excuse me, $1.20 per pound. So think of it about 20% more. But in days have gone by, I have been there when it's $1.85 per pound, which is, that's or
$1.50 was common for a long time.
Yeah.
So, it's still like a 20 or 30% discount.
Oh,
essentially,
definitely. Yeah.
When you're spending dollars. And then, same, even more so with the euro. I mean, one thing people don't understand, though, is that a lot of travel experiences are priced in dollars to begin with. So you're really not getting the benefit of that right now. Those prices were determined 18 months ago, especially packaged holidays and tours.
Yeah.
But where you really feel it, where you feel like a rich man, is when you are shopping in those destinations or you're going out to dinner. For me, that's where the difference is really being made. It's a big difference. I feel maybe it's, a little bit of a syndrome, a psychological syndrome, because I feel like the exchange rate is so much in my favor. I'm spending more.
I didn't know that's possible.
Yeah.
No, but the same. When I was in Scotland this summer, and then also in Ireland, it just, you felt like you had a discount card with you, right? I mean, you pull out your credit card, they charge you, and you look at it, and it pops up on your phone what they charged you in dollars, and you're like, wow, this is great. And the other thing to consider too is there's typically, no tipping is expected. Now, certainly not at the degree it is in the U.S. So, on a $100 tab, you might tip someone $10 in Europe, which would be acceptable, probably even more than acceptable.
Right.
Whereas here, they'll start tapping their little hand on the the tip jar if you don't give them 20%.
Was something wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we also have a cruise which has come barreling back into the marketplace. For the first time, I can say that we are 100% recovered on our cruise market from 2019, and going to surpass it in 2023. And all those people flooding back into the marketplace when they were gone. Cruisers were, couldn't cruise for a long time until earlier this year. That is making a big difference too. All those same people have to fly and stay at hotels usually when they cruise also. So, and I've been asked why cruise is so resilient after being shut down for what other industry gets shut down for 2 whole years and then recovers like this? And I think it's because of the unbeatable value proposition of a cruise. It's a great travel experience, but there are other great travel experiences too. What is it about cruise? It's that you get your accommodations, your cabin, your food, your entertainment, your activities, your transportation, everything all rolled up into a daily spend, a per diem that, is what some people spend on one dinner, going out to dinner. And
Sure.
So the value of a cruise is incredible. And we know from the return rate that the satisfaction people feel with a cruise holiday is incredibly high. So those two things coupled together.
Yeah. And I think I would say that there is an emotional connection with people that enjoy cruising that's far greater than any other type of travel experience that's generalized like that, right? So, you might find a couple of resorts, like the Sandals Resorts has the same kind of, connections. They do a really good job supporting a loyalty program, making you feel welcome back. The cruise lines do as well. But there's just something a little bit unique about cruise people. And it's also interesting for people who've never been on a cruise. Once they've been on a cruise, how many of those people convert to what I call a cruise person? And a cruise person is typically, if they're going to take, their next 5 vacations, 4 of them are going to be cruises. And you don't find people that are going to, resorts that are going to go to, 5 stays at a Sheraton, or 4 out of 5 stays are going to be at a Sheraton or something like that. There's just there seems to be some emotional connection, and I get it. I really enjoy cruises. Yeah. And not to mention, James, as you firsthand know, all the great new product that's being put out in the marketplace. I mean, there's these ships. They did not stop building these ships, which to me was really gutsy during this time. And
especially when you consider that each ship costs about $1.5 billion.
And these were, these are companies that had empty vessels all over the world, and they continued to put the capital in and build these new magnificent ocean liners that were at an incredible heightened expense as to what the existing inventory was. So, kudos to the cruise lines for having the foresight that we were going to get through this, and thank you to them for continuing to make the investment, because now we've got lots more available spaces to sail on these beautiful, new idyllic type floating resorts. So,
yeah, that's very nice of you, Mike. Must be the COVID talking.
Yeah, no, Charlie Funk had Charlie had a word with me, and gave me a little bit of coaching about the podcast.
Maybe it's that the experience is so immersive, so sort of all encompassing, all around you, so immersive, and that makes it maybe a little unique amongst many other travel experiences. The hardware, the new ships, incredible investment. I agree with you. It's real faith in the marketplace. But 75% of American travelers have never been on a cruise. That's still amazing. An enormous number. Yep. So we got to get you guys all out on a cruise. And maybe to do that, Mike, it's time to bring on our deal guru, our expert. And I want to point out something very interesting. That is that as we record this, we're approaching Black Friday. Everyone knows that's the biggest retail day of the year. And I'm not sure that everyone knows that extends to the travel industry as well. It's not just stores or Cyber Monday online, but it's also huge travel sales, which in fact began early this year. And so to talk a little more about that, let's bring on our favorite guest and deal guru, Jessica Deverson.
Well, thank you, and hello, and happy Thanksgiving in a couple days. Hope you're all having a great week so far. And speaking of Black Friday deals, we have a ton. There are a ton available in the travel industry right now. So whether you've had your eye on a very specific cruise, or you're just thinking about touring in Australia next year, or perhaps you want to plan a family vacation for 2024, or maybe you get sick of family over the Thanksgiving holiday and then want to plan a secret getaway for yourself over the New Year Eve kind of holiday. There's literally something for everyone. There is a deal on all things travel right now. So it is a phenomenal time to book. So usually I go kind of in depth and explain brands, kind of elaborate on brands and then bring you the deal. But this time there's so many deals. So I just wanted to give you a handful of offers so you can kind of, get an idea of what's out there in the marketplace right now. So starting off with Celebrity Cruises, it's a fan favorite, a premium cruise line. So they have a Black Friday, deal right now of up to 75% off the second guest. And then you'll also save up to $800 per stateroom. And then you'll also get up to $800 onboard credit per stateroom. So this is one of their biggest Black Friday sales. So it definitely, if you have a bucket list or you've been wanting to sail on Celebrity, now is a great time. So take advantage of this offer very soon. Next up, we have Holland America Line, another premium cruise line, and their Black Friday sale is up to 40% off, including crew appreciation. And if you don't know what the crew appreciation is, basically that's prepaid gratuities. So that's usually a huge chunk of what you spend on a cruise. So it's a really great value-rich offer there. So you save now. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, but I think I was bumping the microphone. But
okay.
while you're paused for a minute, those are two of my favorite cruise lines. Definitely, premium, as you said, which means, guys, upscale, really stylish, excellent quality, great service. These are not your average cruise lines, celebrity, the best design out there in the cruise industry, in my opinion. So to have this level of discounting going on, even for a brief moment for Black Friday sale, is amazing. These sales have started a little earlier this year than usual, I think. Jessica, yeah?
Yeah, they definitely have. And with every single travel supplier that you could probably think of participating in Black Friday sales / Cyber Monday sales, like I said, there's just a really great time to book travel. And some of these deals are as far out as 2025 travel. So like I said, put something on the books for every year from now until 2025. And you'll have plenty of time to pay it off or to change it or to cancel if you have to, if something comes up. But it's a really great way to take advantage of these offers.
I think that's also something different this year. A lot of times the Black Friday travel sales are for pretty close in travel, sort of last minute stuff. And here you've got offers that go through to 2025. I don't think most people would expect that. And then you mentioned paying for it, which I think is another cool thing, because I know we at IntelliTravel, we offer monthly payment for travel. So for someone who's planning like a big vacation is often, one of your biggest expenditures of the year too. There are now plans out there, financing available for you, where you can just pay monthly for a trip.
Yeah, and those are a really great way to, buy up. So maybe you typically book an ocean view, and this time you're looking for that balcony or that suite cabin. That's a good way to be able to afford that. So you're making smaller payments all along the way versus big chunks of payment, at final payment and things like that. So really great way to book longer trips, bigger trips, more luxurious trips, or step up a level in your category or of stateroom or tour. Also in the cruise realm, we have NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line. And Norwegian Cruise Line is well known for their freestyle cruising, sort of get on board, do your own thing. So they also have a Black Friday deal, and they're calling it their greatest deal ever. It's really rich. So second guest will sail free, and then you'll also get up to free airfare, depending on the cruise you book, free unlimited open bar, free specialty dining, free excursions, free Wi-Fi, and free kids travel free or free third and fourth guests. So with all that free stuff, I'm not really sure what else there is to pay for except for the cruise itself. And, so it's a really great offer. And then
gifts in the gift shop are not free. Sorry.
You would know. And then, to balance out the 3 cruises, I wanted to give you 3 land tours and guided land tours and guided trips. And so first up, we have Trafalgar, and they're featuring 303 land trips in 72 countries across 7 continents. So really great travel company where it doesn't matter where you want to go, whatever you're looking to book, wherever you're looking to travel, you'll save 15% on worldwide trips right now. And so these trips include anything, like I said, all 7 continents, everything from Italy to the highlights of Spain and Portugal to Europe, national parks in the U.S., wonders of ancient Egypt, splendors of Japan. I mean, name the trip, name a place, and they have a trip in a guided tour to that place, and you'll be saving 15% on that trip. And then also there's Insight Vacations. That's a more upscale premium luxury brand of guided travel and guided tours. And they also have savings of 15% on premium tours. So travel is more than just visiting destinations. They want to help you make connections. They plan out how you spend every moment and want to make every moment very special. And so, like I said, anywhere in the world, all 7 continents, you're going to save 15% on these tours through Black Friday. And
amazing.
Yes.
You said 303 tours from the...
They have 303 trips to over 70 countries.
So I'm going to make, this is just off the top of my head, sort of off the cuff. we haven't planned this, but I'm going to make a special announcement, a special offer. Anyone who takes all 303 trips will get a free turkey from Mike and I and Jessica. Just wanted to add that.
What is the deadline? Because I'll go for
it. I'm a little afraid of you. You would do it.
All right. Just give me the turkey in advance, so I'll work on it. And then last but not least is G Adventures, one of the best well-known small group travel companies. Again, all trips all over the world, anywhere you can think of that you want to go. For the rest of November, you can save up to 30% off on a massive number of their best-selling adventures across the world. And that includes Antarctica expeditions, which are really big right now. And then if you're looking to travel a little later, you're going to save up to 10% on select trips through 2023. So again, all different travel styles, whether you're looking for active adventures or Zen sort of wellness trips, or like family, book your bubble kind of trips. Whatever adventure you're looking for, you can look at G Adventures as a really great company. It's really great savings through Black Friday and Cyber Monday as well. So, and with that, like I said, this is six travel brands that I'm outlining here. But we have brands like with theme parks, with Universal Studios, some specializing in Irish trips, some Irish tours in Ireland, and Carnival Cruises, Royal Caribbean, premium and luxury trips or cruises with, Princess and Oceania and Viking. And then you're looking at river cruises with a waterways and Viking again, but scenic waterways. Any cruise line, many of the land tours. It's just a really great time to look into travel and start planning and really take advantage of these offers. So
that is excellent, Jessica. Thank you so much. And you've given us a lot to think about for Black Friday. And funny, this is actually true, but I'm going to be on Fox News tomorrow talking about holiday travel. And I was on Bloomberg News on Friday. And coming up is Cheddar News. So everyone wants to talk about holiday travel in the media right now. But one of the questions to me was, do traditional retailers, the stores, the big stores, have to worry this year because travel prices are inflated, airfares are inflated, and yet all the statistics are people still intend to travel, and in fact, to travel more than they did prior to the pandemic. So, do the traditional retailers have to worry that that's going to take something out of their pocket this year? I think that's a very interesting question.
It is an interesting question. And I think that travel bug is still there. That quote unquote revenge travel is still happening. It's not letting up. I think people are spending, they realize coming out of the pandemic, realizing that travel makes them happier. It makes them feel better. It brings them closer to their family. It provides experiences that you're just not going to get, just by buying things. And so I think travel is staying strong and getting stronger, but I don't think it doesn't seem to be taking away from retail, because it's two different products, two different experiences, and people are willing to spend the money on things that matter most to them, whether it is items or experiences.
I agree. And in fact, we quoted some statistics earlier in the podcast from ASTA about how many Americans will spend money on travel over purchasing any of those other things, or over renovating their kitchen this year. Right. They will not give up their trips. And of course, we like to hear that. Thank you. So we're going to conclude this holiday extravaganza, we called it, complete with costumes. You have your costume on, don't you, Jessica? And and we're going to end it, and Jessica's going to do a little dance. Sorry, we didn't rehearse this part, but she's going to do a little dance, and then I wish you all, from Mike, Jessica, and myself, we wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. If you're here in the U.S. celebrating, and count your blessings, please, and include amongst them the ability to travel, the freedom to travel this beautiful world that we can travel in. Please protect it. Travel responsibly and thoughtfully, and travel in a way that you get a real, authentic experience of this beautiful world. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you think about all that. We'll be thinking about you. We're thankful for you, our listeners here at No Tourists Allowed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for listening to No Tourists Allowed. No Tourists Allowed was produced by the Greenville Podcast Company. See you next week for another episode.